The magnificent Saturn V-REX spaceship smoothly and fiercely glides forward, preparing to plunge straight into a colossal nebula cloud. Mystical trans-purple glowing lights pierce through the thick windshield, dyeing the entire cockpit into a highly eerie and mysterious scene. The tiny engineer Grog relaxes near the water dispenser in the corner of the ship, casually holding a white plastic cup, ready to catch some cold water. Dinosaur Lord Rexy sprawls incredibly comfortably on the passenger seat, lazily rubbing his full tan belly after a perfect pizza feast. The giant mechanical titan stands with his arms strictly crossed, his glowing green eyes blinking continuously as the advanced radar system suddenly detects a highly unusual magnetic field. The massive, powerful ship pierces deep into the very core of the purple nebula, causing the entire steel hull structure to vibrate violently with every beat. Grog startles in panic at the sudden turbulence, causing the white plastic cup in his hand to slip and fall into the air. But something incredibly bizarre happens as the cup does not fall to the floor as usual. Grog continuously blinks in utter confusion and profound bewilderment, timidly poking his tiny finger at the floating cup to test this magical phenomenon. An environment of absolute microgravity begins to take control of the entire ship, causing Grog's bronze diving helmet. Rexy's giant belly also begins to lightly inflate, pulling the dinosaur lord's massive body to slowly lift off the soft seat. The giant dinosaur panics immensely, his short arms flailing desperately while his powerful legs kick continuously in the air as if swimming on his back in the ocean. The mechanical titan calmly reaches out and presses an emergency button on the control panel, activating the magnetic system beneath his feet to firmly grip the metal floor. A blinding beam of purple light from outside the nebula suddenly flashes, completely blinding all vision inside the cockpit for a brief moment. The entire frame shakes violently as the massive laws of gravity are suddenly bent and completely inverted 180 degrees. The terrifying gravitational pull instantly yanks everything upward, creating an unprecedented physical chaos. The tiny engineer Grog, along with countless toolboxes and scattered plastic bricks, are sucked straight up to the ceiling uncontrollably. Grog executes a perfectly flawless landing, with both feet standing upright directly on the ceiling, which has now become a completely upside-down floor. He stands incredibly firmly on the metal ceiling surface, while the white daisy on his diving helmet droops downward toward the actual floor, obeying the new gravitational pull. Dinosaur Lord Rexy is also forcefully pulled up to the ceiling, but his bright red head and tan belly are far too oversized and heavy. The giant dinosaur lands incredibly pathetically on the very top of his glass dome, planting his head straight down onto the freezing ceiling surface. The mighty T-Rex, two powerful legs and silver-armored tailpoint straight up toward the floor, flailing wildly in an incredibly ridiculous and desperate posture. Thanks to his super strength, magnetic soul system, the mechanical titan still stands perfectly straight and incredibly solid. A highly bizarre bisected spatial scene emerges, with the towering titan standing at the bottom floor, while Grog and Rexy are completely inverted at the ceiling above. Grog gently rubs his chest, breathing a sigh of relief as he boldly tries taking a step and amazingly realizes he can walk on the ceiling completely normally. Thrilled by this absurd experience, Grog excitedly dances a joyful jig right on the ceiling and waves to his giant friend standing upside down below. Titan can only shake his head in sheer exhaustion at the engineer's naivety, pointing straight at the control panel on the floor to remind him of the crucial piloting mission. Grog startles in panic as he realizes the harsh truth that the entire steering wheel and throttle system are now sitting entirely out of reach. Meanwhile, Dinosaur Lord Rexy is enduring an incredibly agonizing and humiliating struggle with this wicked, illusionary gravity. The T-Rex desperately tries to fold his entire body, using all his momentum to swing his massive legs, but every time he manages to flip halfway up, the terrifying weight from his full belly drags him right back down to a head-planting posture, exactly like a useless roly-poly toy. Unable to help his giant friend, Grog curiously approaches the lucky water dispenser. He reaches out and gently turns the transparent plastic faucet to soothe his thirst after a series of insane physical phenomena. Instead of obediently flowing down into the cup, the magical water droplets shoot straight up into the air, forming a brilliant fountain that completely defies all laws. That reverse-flowing stream of water flies straight across the cockpit space and splashes directly into the face of the mechanical Titan standing on the floor. Titan raises his giant mechanical arm to wipe away the absurd water droplets, his green eyes blinking continuously to clearly show his annoyance at this ironic situation. The clever engineer awkwardly scrambles, quickly grabbing the plastic cup and turning it upside down to catch the refreshing stream of water shooting powerfully from below. When the cup is full and overflowing, Grog tilts his face up into the air, opens his mouth wide, and splashes the entire stream of water from the upside-down cup straight into his mouth to drink. The complete inversion of the most basic physical principles leaves even the brilliant engineer in a state of absolute confusion and utter bewilderment. Returning to the ceiling corner, the dinosaur lord has completely given up hope and abandoned his futile efforts. The incredibly cruel illusionary gravity forces the proud lord to support himself using his two tiny, weak, stubby arms against the freezing ceiling. He uses all the strength of his front limbs to painstakingly lift his heavy head and giant glass dome just a few meager centimeters off the flat surface. The powerful dinosaur legs and majestic silver-armored tail now only helplessly and uselessly dangle in the air. With no other choice, Rexy has to begin a handstand walk using his stubby arms in an incredibly pathetic posture. The dinosaur clumsily moves, using his tiny arms, painfully and painstakingly inching every single millimeter across the vast ceiling surface. After struggling to take just 3 steps, his tiny arms begin to tremble violently, completely unable to support the weight of his giant body. The protective glass dome violently smashes into the ceiling in pure helplessness, while Rexy pants heavily, causing his entire chest to heave wildly from exhaustion. Transparent drops of sweat pour like rain from Rexy's forehead, flying backward according to the absurd gravity and loudly pattering straight onto the Titan's head below. Titan carefully wipes away the dinosaur's sweat drops that hit him, covering his face with his mechanical hand and letting out a heavy, exhausted sigh. Rexy silently growls in absolute anger, his prehistoric pride. Trying to hand-walk causes Rexy's glass dome to continuously and harshly scrape against the ceiling surface, creating incredibly heavy, ear-piercing grinding sounds. Seeing his giant friend suffering so much, Grog cleverly drops a brown rope from the ceiling, letting it fall upward to the floor to seek assistance. The rope is perfectly and tightly stretched upright in space, clearly exposing the bizarre manipulation of the illusionary gravity zone. Grog frantically gestures, pointing at the mechanical Titan and begging him to grab the rope to use his mechanical strength to pull them back to the true floor. Titan understands, tightly gripping the rope with his solid copper hands and using all his engine power to pull it down forcefully. Grog is instantly yanked off the ceiling, floating weightlessly backward up to the floor and joyfully hugging the Titan's sturdy mechanical leg. Rexy also quickly grabs the lifeline, but his massive body is so heavy that it causes Titan's joints to squeal and smoke gray fumes, while the T-Rex only hovers midway with his head upside down. The proud dinosaur lord now just dangles desperately on the rope, looking exactly like a giant, useless red dumbbell. Grog clings tightly to Titan's leg, trying to stretch his body as far as possible toward the central control panel to regain control of the ship. But due to the horrific pulling force of the reverse gravity, his tiny arm just waves helplessly in the air, completely unable to reach the steering wheel. The giant Saturn V-REX spaceship is flying aimlessly and completely out of control through the nebula, heading straight toward a floating asteroid. The emergency alarm flashes red continuously, warning of an imminent catastrophic collision if there is no timely intervention. Left with no other choice, Titan is forced to release the hand holding Rexy's rope, extending his remaining giant mechanical arm to firmly grasp the steering wheel. The rope suddenly goes slack, causing Rexy to fall straight down and violently plant his head into the ceiling surface for the third time today. The giant dinosaur lies completely flat and motionless, his limbs sprawled out in tatters, his eyes showing frantic spirals as he has completely exhausted his life force. With an extremely powerful force, Titan decisively yanks the throttle and aggressively turns the giant steering wheel to change the ship's course in a split second. The 4 advanced exhaust cones simultaneously erupt with brilliant orange flames, creating a massive thrust that propels the ship dodging right through the deadly gap of the asteroid. Grog clings tightly to Titan's leg like a resilient little bug, despite the howling magnetic winds blowing his leopard print loincloth wildly. Far ahead through the thick windshield, the brilliant and soothing light of the familiar galaxy begins to appear like a peaceful harbor. With a spectacular acceleration, the proud Saturn V-REX completely breaches and escapes the thick, highly dangerous layer. The eerie purple lights completely extinguish in the blink of an eye, marking the permanent end of the wicked illusionary gravity zone. Absolute microgravity instantly returns, causing Grog to float off Titan's leg and Rexy's massive body to lift off the ceiling. Just one brief second later, the ship's normal artificial gravity system is perfectly restored to its flawless operational state. Deafening crashing sounds echo continuously as everything begins to obey their original, true physical laws. The tiny engineer Grog free falls from the ceiling and heavily slams his bottom onto the freezing metal floor in incredible pain. Countless toolboxes and plastic brick fragments also fall scattered to the floor like a heavy downpour of flexible plastic. A spectacular camera angle pointing straight up from the floor captures the free fall of the dinosaur lord. Rexy, still upside down due to momentum, begins a high-speed free fall from the ceiling straight down to the metal floor below. But with a miraculous mid-air twist, exactly like a nimble feline, Rexy's 2 massive feet land flawlessly and completely perfectly. The great T-Rex stands proudly upright, tilting his giant snout upward in an incredibly majestic manner, as if the entire pathetic sequence of events was just an intentional circus act. Grog scrambles up from the ground, incredibly impressed, and claps loudly to praise his giant friend's unbelievably graceful landing. Rexy smirks proudly at the applause, arrogantly giving a thumbs up to reaffirm his immortal status as the Almighty Lord. But in that glorious moment, an agonizing cracking sound echoes, signaling that the physical endurance limit has been broken. Because his tiny, stubby arms were forced to operate far beyond their absolute limit, they begin to cramp and tremble wildly, completely out of control. Completely drained of all vitality, Rexy collapses and falls face first heavily onto the floor, his silver tail violently slamming the ground, signaling the unconditional surrender of his muscles. Grog bursts into refreshing laughter at his friend's adorable stubbornness, slowly walking over and affectionately rubbing Rexy's scratched glass dome for comfort. Titan also removes his magnetic soul system, thoughtfully stepping closer with the first aid kit, intending to bandage the poor dinosaur lord's arms. The atmosphere inside the cockpit gradually returns to its familiar peace, and the white daisy on Grog's head happily bounces again, embracing standard gravity. The water dispenser in the corner has obediently started trickling cool streams of water downward to the floor as it should. The Saturn V-REX spaceship completely stabilizes its orbital flight path, smoothly gliding past the sparkling bright stars to continue its endless journey. The camera angle slowly pulls backward, leaving the tiny ship drifting amidst a vast and heartbreakingly silent cosmic space. Only a few clouds of residual purple dust from the nebula still linger, clinging around the sturdy steel hull of the ship. They are quickly swept away by the scorching hot exhaust from the four thrusters, floating and gradually gathering together in the boundless void. The eerie, glowing purple dust particles begin to blink continuously, magically rearranging and connecting to form a block of text. That entire giant text block drifts weightlessly and freely like a zero-gravity entity in the vast, mysterious cosmic ocean. The brilliant purple light gradually fades away, giving way to the absolute envelopment of eternal cosmic darkness. The cinematic screen slowly sinks into pitch-black darkness, leaving behind an absolute silence without the slightest ripple of sound. The miraculous journey temporarily closes, preparing for countless other unimaginable challenges waiting ahead. The vast space collapses into a completely solid, empty black, wiping away all traces of the purple nebula or the familiar cockpit image. A bizarre legless black ant flashes briefly in an upside-down posture, tightly hugging a vibrant subscribe sign before vanishing forever into nothingness.